This is day one of a 6-part series on eating 6 unique meals for only $2.50 a day. I will be releasing these every day for the next 6 days, so stay tuned and enjoy. Hello everybody. As you can see from the title, this is going to be a slightly different type of video than what we're used to. Over the next 6 days, I'm going to be consuming and cooking only what I can purchase with $15. That is $2.50 for each of those days. I'm going to be purchasing all the food at once today and cooking it throughout the week. Now, I'm not going to be using any of the stuff that's in my kitchen, in my pantry, in my freezer, but I will be allowing myself salt and reasonable amounts of spices. So no using half a thing of chili powder to make enchilada sauce. I think that would be a little bit excessive. But reasonable amounts of spice, salt, will be good. Another disclaimer, I practice intermittent fasting, meaning that I only eat one meal a day, for the most part. Because of that, there's really only going to be 6 main meals, and while I may eat leftovers during that time, I'll let you know when that happens, I'm really going to be creating 6 distinct high-calorie meals, or at least as high of calories as I can make given the limitations. One final caveat, this is primarily an intellectual exercise for me. This is an attempt for me to push myself using a limited set of ingredients, a limited criteria, and maybe to give you guys some ideas for some cheaper meals here and there. But this is not meant to be a guide for frugal living or anything like that. These meals aren't going to be as nutritious as they probably should be. There are probably better people to talk to about that. But with that all out of the way, let's go to the store and pick up some food. All right, we're here at Aldi. Now, got a couple of strategies going into this. The main thing is I need calories and I need protein. Now, if you want to get the best of both of those worlds, you really have to go with flour. It's going to give you the best bang for your buck on both of those accounts. So our hands are tied there. Right now, potatoes are in season, so we're probably going to want to get some of those. So we'll kind of double up on the starchy proteins, and potatoes have a lot of vitamins and minerals as well. We're going to need some sort of fat. Now, I want to get butter, because butter I can turn into ghee, which will function as a vegetable oil replacement. But I'm not sure if that's going to fit within the budget. I might have to go with margarine, which is usually a little cheaper. But hopefully not. I'm going to need some yeast so I can make bread. And I don't think I'm going to be able to fit meat into this unless there's some great sale going on in there, but I wasn't able to find anything online. So we're probably going to have to stick with eggs, if that. Some stuff that I could get, hopefully, some tomato sauce would be great. Canned vegetables, some sort of bean would be awesome as an additional source of plant-based protein, and then maybe some milk. Again, for $15, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to cover all of these bases, and I want to make sure that I get my calories in and get as much protein as I can at the same time. So yeah, gonna go inside and see what we can do. And I'm back. We did pretty good. Got most of the stuff we were looking for. We'll go through all of the stuff when we get back to the kitchen. But I did want to notice we're at 15:02. It's not focusing. 15:02, which is a bit unfortunate. My calculations were off, so I apologize for that. But we'll move past that and get to cooking. Alright, back at the kitchen, and this is what I've managed to find. A can of mixed vegetables for 69 cents. That's going to be a key source of micronutrients. Some chickpeas for 76 cents. These are high in protein and fiber. Some creamed corn. I don't know what I'm going to do with these, but it was pretty cheap at 49 cents. A 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes at $1.19. I have something specifically in mind for this, but we may find some more niche uses for it later. Of course, I had to get some flour. In order to get my calories, I know I would have to resort to some cheap carb. This was $2.12. I also picked up some yeast for 79 cents. If this was a longer challenge, I could make a sourdough starter with the flour, but as I only have a week, I had to pick this up if I wanted bread. As I mentioned before, potatoes were in season when I filmed this, so I got a 10-pound bag for $2.89. Multiple uses for these, similar to the flour. A dozen eggs, which I got for $2.81, one of my primary protein sources. Fortunately, I was able to get a pound of butter. The store was running a sale and I got it for $2.19. And finally, the biggest catch of them all was this. A block of tofu for more than half off at 79 cents. Turns out I misread the price tag and thought it said 71 cents, which is where the discrepancy in my total cost comes from. Regardless, here is the total haul for $15.02. A lot better than I thought I was going to get. The deals certainly helped, but it's a shame that I wasn't able to get any meat. Oh well, guess I'm going vegetarian for a week. Anyway, before I start cooking, here is the total item breakdown by cost, calories, and macronutrients. Most of these calories are coming from the flour, butter, and potatoes, so these will have to be the main focus for most of these meals. It looks like my theoretical maximum calories per day would be around 2,900 with around 80 grams of protein. That's just below maintenance calories for me right now and about 40 grams below my desired minimum protein intake, but for 1 week that is definitely doable. That out of the way, let's get started with the first dish. Now, I have potatoes and I have flour. And I love pasta, so it just makes sense to start off by making some gnocchi-inspired potato dumplings. I wouldn't dare call what I am making here authentic gnocchi, but it's the same basic idea. Here I have 750 grams of my potatoes, and I went ahead and peeled them, discarding the skins. I then chopped them into evenly sized pieces and tossed them into a small sauce pot. I covered them with about an inch of water and set my burner on high. Once the water boiled, I reduced it to a simmer and let it cook for 15 minutes or so, until the pieces were nearly cooked through. I then removed them from the heat, drained them, and let them sit on the countertop for a moment to steam. I then went in with a fork and finally mashed the potatoes. Now, this ended up being way more work than I thought. In reality, I should have used my potato masher and mashed them while the potatoes were still in the pot. Regardless, once that was done, I took my potatoes and, making a well in the center, cracked in one of my eggs. I scrambled that up and added my flour, 143 grams, and painstakingly, over the course of about 8 minutes, brought the mixture together. I was so hungry at this point that I completely forgot to add salt to the dough. Oh well. Once together, I separated the mixture in half, rolled it into a tube, and cut it in half again, and rolled the dough out into a roughly 1-inch diameter snake. Then, using a bench scraper, I sliced the dough into 1-inch dumplings, carefully laying them out into rows so they wouldn't stick together. I went ahead and did this with the rest of the dough until I had about 2 pounds of evenly sized gnocchi-esque dumplings. Quite a bit of work, right? Well, now we need to cook them. To this end, I took the same sauce pot from before, cleaned and filled with water, and turned the burner on high heat. While that was coming to a boil, I decided to make a tomato-based sauce for the dumplings. Taking a small sauce pot, I added half of the crushed tomato can, 14 ounces, as well as about a quarter cup of water, and set the heat on medium. As it was coming up to temperature, I added some Italian seasoning, a large pinch of salt, a shake of garlic powder, a little bit of dried basil, a small shake of dried oregano, and a small amount of dried minced onion. Once boiling, I reduced to a simmer and just let that go while I cooked the dumplings. To finish the dumplings, I took a large nonstick skillet and added a tablespoon and a half of butter. Heat on medium-high, and I just melted the butter in the pan. By now, my water was boiling, so taking half of the dumplings, I did these in 2 batches, I just dropped them in one by one into the boiling water. After about 3 minutes, they started floating, the signal that they were done. Taking a metal strainer, I lifted them out of the boiling water and into the hot skillet. I just let those sit about 4 minutes in that hot butter until they developed a beautiful golden crust on the bottom. I then tossed them in the now browned butter, and into the pan, carefully poured about half of the tomato sauce. Now, my initial reaction, as you can see here, was one of panic, as the sauce started immediately bubbling and spitting from the incredibly hot pan. I realized after a second, however, that this wasn't a big deal, as the sauce was still a little watery, and could stand to lose the extra water. After a minute or so, I transferred that to a plate, and meal number 1 was ready. And here we go. A not quite gnocchi dumpling platter with tomato sauce. Now, of course, what you're seeing here is only half the dish. The other half I ate off camera. This one ended up being a pretty good start to the week. I had to add a generous sprinkle of salt and black pepper to account for not salting the interior, but it was good with that. Fluffy, tender, with good contrast between the rich sauce, the caramelized exteriors of the dumplings, and the pillowy interior. Not a bad start, though it did get a little tough to get down towards the end, simply because of the sheer quantity of the food. Regardless, here are the calorie, cost, and macro breakdowns for this meal. The biggest failing here is the lack of protein, and a subpar amount of calories. But it was cheap, and an efficient use of our resources, so not a bad start. Another thing before I end the video. This series was meant to cap off the year and celebrate 100 subscribers. Well, in the time since I started making this video, we not only hit 100 subscribers, we passed 200 subscribers in this time. Thanks to all the new subscribers, and I hope to continue to make recipes you can use into the new year.